He once worked at a school that was run by Bill Barr's father. So why wouldn't we think he's a terrific guy?
Okay, now I want to get back to you mentioned this the other day, and this one still creeps me out. The dentist chair.
Yes, so I have tracked the truth down on this. So first of all, back to element 31, and this is according to the Import Genius import records. A separate shipment was received by Mr. Epstein at his New York home on September 9th, 2013. Now you can see on screen here to the right, that dental unit was shipped to Jeffrey Epstein's house in New York, the one that they found sex toys and mannequins hanging from the ceiling. Now, this was sent from a Chinese company called Henan Mayan Shang Trading Company Limited. And again, the shipment was a dental unit weighing 550 pounds. Okay? So I was trying to find, is there any video, any pictures of this? I have found video of what appears to be a dental unit, not in New York, but at Jeffrey Epstein's house in Palm Beach. Okay, so right here, this is video taken by the sheriff. Right here, look at that. That's a dental unit. Looks very similar to the one that I just noted that came from Henan Mayan Trading Company in China. All right, that's a dental unit in Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach home. The police recorded this on October 20th, 2005. I got this from the sheriff office down there in Palm Beach.
At the beginning of the video, too, there was like a little toy plane. Did you see that?
Yes.
The very beginning.
That's the dental unit.
That's what?
Now we have to wonder, how many of these alleged dental units does Jeffrey Epstein have?
Is there one at every location?
What are you doing?
And what is he using it for?
What are you doing?
Something that has drills, something that has the ability to tape someone into a chair.
Torture?
Maybe.
Is this torture?
Who knows?
Sadomasochism?
We know
yes,
in the Nexium case they branded women. Maybe they put something in, like drilled something in their teeth to mark them. I mean, we can just speculate.
A tracking chip?
Listening device, maybe?
Who knows?
I mean, the guy maybe he likes to dress up like a dentist.
Hey,
maybe that's his
fetish.
His fetish. He likes to dress up as a dentist, or maybe he tortures girls.
Yeah, I mean,
all I know is I don't have a dental unit in my house. I don't know anyone who has a dental unit.
I don't have a 53-pound shredder, and I don't have a carpet and tile extractor.
If
I had one, I wouldn't ship it to another house.
Obviously, he's doing something with this because he needed it so badly in two places.
This is bizarre. Okay. All right, we've mentioned the royal family's connection to Jeffrey Epstein, which is via Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell. Hey, we found a 2003 op-ed piece published by the London Telegraph, and it was written by Conrad Black's wife. This is 2003, and it was titled "Pedophile Hysteria is Turning Us into a Brutish Society."
Yes, number 40 for Control, and in that very odd op-ed, first of all, turning British society into a brutish society, as if as some kind of defense against this pedophilia and the attack against it is actually ruining society. Now, Rick, in this op-ed, the wife of Conrad Black noted, child porn may well be made in less developed countries where child labor laws and economic circumstances are very different from our own. But it strikes me as the worst kind of cultural imperialism for us to determine the choices made by families and children, where the choice may be well between that work and hunger. If there is no coercion and a child's guardian puts the child in such work, whether for economic reasons or because of a difference in cultural norms, or a combination of both, this is a matter for them. Distasteful, though, such a decision may be for us.
Now, the author, Barbara Amiel, she's married to Conrad Black. Well, why am I bringing this up? Because Donald Trump pardoned Conrad Black.
And Jeffrey Epstein used Conrad Black to get basically a message through to Vicky Ward, the journalist who was trying to basically write an op-ed in 2002 on the sex crimes, which we now know to be a part of the allegation.
Vicky Ward, when she wrote was it Vanity?
Yes, the Vanity Fair article in 2002.
2002, Vicky Ward wrote the article, the editor of Vanity Fair, which was owned by Condé Nast, which was owned by the
Maximilian Publishers.
Maximilian, which was owned by the Maxwell family. Okay?
Robert Maxwell, yes.
Yes.
Who was controlled by.
So they wanted to get a message, Epstein wanted to get a message to Vicky Ward in 2002, back off, don't publish this article, and he used Conrad Black to deliver the message
Yes.
to Vicky Ward. Conrad Black's wife writes an editorial promoting, defending pedophilia, and the London Telegraph published a piece of trash. And then Donald Trump pardons Conrad Black. And you remember what I said the other day? I said, when they sent him to prison, I can never figure out who did he double cross. Somebody at Conrad Black's level, they got him on, some financial things. And I thought, there's something about this conviction that doesn't make sense. But now you have to wonder, where's the child molestation, pedophilia connection in all this? Why was Conrad Black sent to prison? Who did he double cross and how?
All right. What did he know?
Maybe he wasn't playing the game by the rules and they taught him a lesson.
Maybe he spoke up and said, what if I say something?
Well, that would be not playing the game by the rules.
Exactly. I suspect that, again, Conrad Black knew Jeffrey Epstein, not a direct connection there, but actually through, obviously, Robert Maxwell's daughter, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yes. And
what's interesting is I'm doing some research, trying to find who was a common figure in the middle of this circle. I found a photo which was published after President Trump's victory on November 8th, 2016, with President Trump in the picture with Robert Maxwell. This is a photo I don't think anyone has seen.
Wait a minute. President Trump with Robert Maxwell?
Yes, this was a photo. It was among
Wallace.
There is Mike Wallace.
Mike Wallace, I mean.
Mike Wallace and Robert Maxwell. I mean, Robert Maxwell, Seymour Hersh.
The guy in the center.
Yeah.
That's, is that Tower? I don't have my glasses.
Oh, he looks.
Who's the guy in the center?
It might be. This was a photo found among 1,000 photos left.
Is that Senator Tower?
Wow, and he knows the photo's been taken. Look at that. Everyone else is just paying attention to each other.
He's like.
I'm trying to think. This is the first time I've seen this. If that's Senator John Tower was the head of the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee that allowed the Israeli Mossad, got them into the nuclear research center out in New Mexico.
New Mexico, yes. Oh my goodness. This is a photo that was thrown away, Rick. This photo didn't exist up until 2016.
So wait a minute. Donald Trump knew Robert Maxwell, who was a Mossad spy.
Yes.
Who is the father of Ghislaine.
Oh, and he knows Ghislaine. President Trump knows Ghislaine.
Oh,
and this photo was
what a quinky dink. Here we go again.
It was found in a thrift store, Palm Beach thrift store. A South Florida collector found it. And again, when I was trying to date this, is the photo could be between, let's say, 77 and 92. And the reason I say that is that Robert Maxwell passed away in 91, so actually before 92, 91. And Mike Wallace is in that photo, the father of Fox News host, Chris Wallace. He died in 2012. So I'd say 1991 to maybe the 80s, based on the hair color of Donald Trump, the demeanor, the suits. But regardless, this is the time period where Epstein was making his rise. And again, it shows you that from the beginning, President Trump had a connection to Epstein through Robert Maxwell and the daughter.
Oh, man.
They all know each other.
This is getting deeper and deeper and deeper. Listen, we're getting later and later and later on a Friday. We have yet to get to our main story.
We have to.
Do we?
We have to. The title of our show today.
It's the title of the show, isn't it?
We need to. And it is shocking.
I've got stories here. New York Magazine. Real hedge fund managers have some thoughts on what Epstein was really doing. Okay. So New York Magazine talked to Wall Street hedge fund managers and said, hey, there's a lot of talk for years about where Epstein was getting his money.
what broker he's using, what brokerage firm he's using, because he was thrown out of Bear Stearns. You know, Rick, I think that the conclusion these men came to is that there's no way he was operating a legitimate investment or a hedge fund or any kind of vehicle without having to deal with them, the main players in the industry.
That's right. Miami Herald, just yesterday, new victims come forward as Epstein asked to be released on bail. Miami Herald said at least a dozen new victims have come forward accusing Jeffrey Epstein. Another dozen. So the story gets deeper. CNN, Jeffrey Epstein allegedly hired private investigators and engaged in a campaign of intimidation against accusers. And so we're seeing a pattern that Jeffrey Epstein would use intimidating tactics to scare the daylights out of these girls.
We see that in others as well. When something gets too hot to handle, you bring in the fixer. The fixer either threatens them.
Hey, they freeze you out.
Or they offer them a hush money.
Yeah.
Stormy Daniels is a great example of this.
They have a meeting on Friday night at show and they freeze you out.
Yeah. Right? You remember Michael Cohen and his, he met up with Stormy Daniels and gave her two options. Gave her a threat and gave her some money.
You know, and see, back during the campaign, people didn't believe that stuff. People were saying, "Oh, come on."
Yeah.
The Clinton campaign is bringing these.
It happened so far into the campaign where it just looked like a way to, throw mud. But we're seeing this pattern play itself over and over. Now, multiple victims are coming out with the same story.
Victims saying that black SUVs sat outside their homes, that their boyfriends have been questioned. One of them, the parents of the victim, their parents' car run off the road.
That was in the very indictment that led to the arrest of Jeffrey Epstein about 2 Saturdays ago at this point. That one is scary, Rick. The parents of a victim run off the road by a private eye hired by Jeffrey Epstein.
It sounds like mafia tactics.
Sounds
okay. So now we get to the main story, and look, we'll devote 10 minutes to this. We'll probably have to come back next week and go deeper into this. We're going to revisit a story that came out during the 2016 campaign, and it got very little publicity, and then it just disappeared in November when President Trump won the election. And it was an accusation by Katie Johnson that she said that she was 13 years old at the time, and Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump argued among themselves over which one of the men were going to take her virginity from her.
Innocence.
Now, at this point right now, if you have children in the room, you need to just clear out the room because this is going to get really graphic at this point. So just hit pause and get your kids away and listen to this later, because there's no way for us to present this without just letting you hear exactly what she said, and it's graphic. Okay, this is not.
And this is from court documents.
This is not going to be TBN. All right, this is not your normal mom. It's not your grandmother's Christian TV show right now.
Right.
All right, this is real stuff. We're talking to you about what's really happening. But I don't mean to offend. I'm not trying to shock people by playing this. I am trying to shock you that there is a pedophile network in America involving rich, powerful men, and it's involved in occult Luciferian sacrifice of children. That's what I'm trying to shock you into understanding.
And it potentially reaches the White House, so much so that that's the reason why our labor secretary has stepped down. He says so he doesn't want to bring any more attention, but that's the reason. It's the sex.
And
it will eventually lead to Chabad Lubavitch.
And you do say men. This is women as well. High-powered women involved. They are on both sides. Yes. Men and women involved with these sex traffickings.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Okay, so this young woman, at the time, she was 13 years old. She came forward in the fall of 2016 with one of these lurid tales of being raped by Donald Trump. And, you know, the attitude among the Trump supporters at that time was, we don't believe any of it.
They're all lying.
The Clinton campaign's bringing out one crazy accusation after another, and we don't believe any of it, and we're not listening to any of it.
You had guys like Michael Avenatti, like poisoning the water for true victims, and maybe Stormy Daniels has a case, but when you interject those kind of characters into it,
Gloria Alfred, yeah.
Yeah, it just looks like, oh, here goes another.
But look at the people Donald Trump hung around with. Stormy Daniels.
Yes.
That's right. There are
She
pictures
wasn't
with
exactly
President
a
Trump
Girl
and
Scout. I mean,
Daniels.
she wasn't, you know, her reputation there wasn't spectacular.
And we know
And there still has not been a viable explanation for the transfer of money from President Trump's entities to a holding account that Stormy Daniels has now shown. This is court documents. It's a
But
fact.
is there
money
a
transfer.
Stormy Daniels connection to Epstein? Do we know that yet?
I haven't found one for Stormy Daniels. No.
Okay, so let's get back to this young woman, Katie Johnson. So she filed a lawsuit in the fall of 2016 saying that Epstein and Trump raped her when she was 13 years old. Most of the news media pretty much
I never heard
ignored
of this.
it. I don't know if I even remember this at all. And then immediately after the election, she withdrew the lawsuit, and the Daily Mail of London ran this article on November 7, 2016, headline, "Troubled Woman with a History of Drug Use Who Claims She Was Assaulted by Donald Trump at a Jeffrey Epstein sex party at age 13 made it all up." So I read the entire story. At no point does the Daily Mail explain or say that she made it up.
Yeah,
it's only in the headline.
They said they got it from a special source, which is not named, which is not characterized, which is very interesting. And then it's not that the lawsuit, because the lawsuit was dropped. Katie Johnson withdrew it, but this was a federal lawsuit. She'd
But
filed
why
this.
did she drop it on the day after the election?
She said she was too afraid to hold a press conference, and she had a series of threats against her life.
And do we see that there is a pattern of threats by Jeffrey Epstein against women?
Oh,
who
absolutely.
Go forward with information?
Absolutely. It's been alleged by the very government prosecuting
so
him.
now we are obligated to go back and look at Katie Johnson's accusation against Epstein and Trump in 2016.
And if she wanted this to go away, she wouldn't put up a website that it says Justice for Katie. This is an active website that is
Today?
Of
Yes, it's
course.
still up today.
We called her to
Yeah,
get
I reached out to her.
Yeah.
You did?
Yes, yeah, we haven't heard back from her, but I did everything in my chance to try to get an update on if she's still carrying forward, especially the fact that the Epstein case has been revived.
But the website is active. It has her testimony on it or from her deposition. This just hasn't gone away. And if you are a victim, the safest thing to do is get it out in the open.
Yes.
The more that you're in the
visible.
shadows, the more that something bad could happen.
Yes, be visible. So 1994 is when this happened. According to her, she was
Between June and September.
She was 13 years old, and she said that she was subject to rape, criminal sexual acts, assault, battery, and false imprisonment. So let's go into the nitty-gritty, the really raw details of what she said in 2016 Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein did to her at age 13.
All right, so Katie Johnson, through a man named Jonathan Lohner out of Los Angeles, produced videos. Now they masked her voice and her picture. However, the Daily Mail ended up showing a picture of her anyway on that article saying that she dropped the case. She produced a series of video testimonies describing the up to 4 allegations of rape and sexual assault, among intimidation that she'd received. The first one being that Jeffrey Epstein and President Trump basically used her as a passed-around toy in a sexual competition. This first clip, 42 for Control, is Miss Johnson alleging what occurred to her in June through September of 1994.
The first time that I met Donald Trump was at a party at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. I was 13. And he basically asked if I could come over and give him a hand job. And sorry, this is a little difficult, but before I gave him a hand job, he kind of slapped my hand away and said, you need to use a glove. And the recruiter ran over and handed me a glove and said, no one touches Mr. Trump's penis without a glove.
By the way, according to her statement, she said when she was 13, when this happened in 1994, she had no idea who Epstein and Trump were.
Right. Yeah, why would she?
Yeah, at age 13 in 1994. But she said she didn't know who raped her until she saw Donald Trump on The Apprentice TV show. That's when she recognized the rapist.
And to put both of them together.
Now, if there was no connection between Trump and Epstein, I would say,
This is wild. This is
crazy.
unfabricated. It's too crazy.
Donald Trump said he's on record saying Epstein was a great guy, and he likes women. He just likes them younger than Mr. Trump likes.
He said he had a falling out 15 years ago.
Yes.
Well, where does that
This
put
was
us?
1994.
Well, they didn't have the falling out then, did they?
That's 25 years ago.
Yeah.
That's right.
So they were buddies at that time.
Well, we have pictures of them laughing and hanging
And we
out.
just saw Donald Trump with Robert Maxwell.
Yes.
Ghislaine Maxwell's father.
Yeah, and
And again, an Israeli Mossad spy. And who was there? Mike Wallace, a Jewish news journalist at CBS News, who asked the Shah of Iran.
Yes. Oh, yes. I remember that.
Now, Your Majesty, are you really saying the Jews control everything?
He almost stopped the interview there, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He answered defiantly, yes.
That's right. And that may have been John Tower. I'm not sure. It sure looked like Shorty Tower there.
We'll look and
All right.
see.
If it was, Tower's the guy.
Our control's saying it was.
It was
Yeah, our
Tower?
control room is saying it was.
All right, so Tower's the one that got the Israeli Mossad into our nuclear research labs, according to Gordon Thomas. That's what Gordon Thomas told me.
And I think Seymour Hersh has also reported
And
that,
it's in Gideon Spies, the book that Gordon wrote.
Just saw an article about that today.
Well, as you heard with Katie Johnson, she detailed the first of the incidents that she alleges occurred between her, President Trump, and Mr. Epstein. Well, it got much worse. There's a second video testimony I grabbed to share, and this actually alleges the incident you were mentioning about the fighting for the taking of her virginity. This is Katie Johnson giving testimony in 2016.
There was like a lot of artwork that had insinuated nudity with women, and I remember
Suggestive?
very suggestive. We had like a bathtub that was kind of like opened, and there was prosthetic breasts that he could play with while he was taking a bath, I guess. It was very odd. And the painting that was literally right the massage table would be here, and
So that actually was Miss Coesta, the woman who said that she'd seen strange artwork. So that was occurred from earlier. We're going now to the clip of Katie Johnson speaking about the allegations of assault, sexual assault for her virginity between President Trump and Jeffrey
When she was
Epstein.
13 years old.
Another 43 for control.
Second time that I saw Mr. Trump was same scenario. He was onlooking at an orgy, and Tiffany came over to me and said that Donald Trump had requested that I perform oral sex on him. He came in, and I was basically tied to a bed with pantyhose, and he tied him, and they were so tight it hurt to even lay there. And I tried to say something. And it was like, and he just shut up, shut up. This is basically like he was being really, really rough, and I started to get scared, and he was basically ripping my clothes off, and I was actually I got freaked out. I just turned into this animal. It was like a completely different person. I couldn't do anything about it. he ripped off all my clothes, and he started to basically have sex with me, and I was screaming because I'd never had sex before. It was my first time, and he told us to just shut up and just basically took my virginity while I was crying and telling him to stop, and that's basically begging for him to just stop.
The actions she described there, if they're true, are the actions of a monster. Two monsters.
Do we believe the victim? I mean, what's the Me Too campaign about?
Isn't that their cry, the victim's rights and believe the victim? Like, how many times do we have to hear it?
Why would she make it up? And this sounds like the women who came forward that said Bill Clinton raped her.
That's right.
So we had Bill Clinton raping women, all right, and then Hillary Clinton's running against Donald Trump, but women are saying Donald Trump raped him.
No.
And what do we have at the top of this country?
We have bipartisan rapes.
We have
sex perversion.
bipartisan sex perverts.
Yes, and at CPAC, Donald Trump brought up Bill Clinton going to Jeffrey Epstein's island. He said that Sean Hannity asked him about a Bill Clinton, just like a one-off. What do you think? He goes, well, he's in a lot of trouble because of that island with Epstein.
And notice it didn't become a main fixture, a main topic. Instead, the lock her up, build the wall, all the other things we've heard during the campaign. President Trump didn't go out of his way to use what some might argue be the smoking gun in the dossier of scandals for Bill Clinton is the Lolita Express. There are documents. There's a man who has pled guilty to being a sex criminal, a child sex criminal. It's talking about Jeffrey Epstein and a documented relationship between the Clintons and that man. You ever wonder why it didn't get used by President Trump?
They also didn't want to talk about pizza pedophiles and perverts using pizza-related terms to describe their fetishes with children. And then a couple months ago, the Ars Technica writer, who was going by the name
Dr. Pizza.
Dr. Pizza, admitting that he was a pedophile, loved being a pedophile.
Just a coincidence. His name's Dr. Pizza.
Yeah. Folks, the pedophilia network is so deep. It's in the Roman Catholic Church. It's in the Pentagon. It's in the FBI. It's all through our society, and it's wicked, it's evil, it's demonic. I mean, anybody, when you get to this level, you're so demonically possessed. I can't even comprehend people doing something like that to a 13-year-old girl.
13.
Grown men, all right, fighting over who was going to take her virginity. She said she was tied to a bed.
It's disgusting.
All right, what's our next one?
So there, in addition to these two very graphic allegations by Ms. Johnson, she also alleged there were some statements made by President Trump at the time, Donald Trump, to Jeffrey Epstein. What she alleged, you're going to hear in this clip, is a certain use of, let's say, you're going to hear it bleeped in this, but she called him a Jew, so-and-so. And she also details that...
But who said it first?
This would have been President Donald Trump saying it.
She's quoting President Trump.
She's quoting it, and this was actually detailed in both the filing in the Central District Court, the Federal District Court in California, and in the sound that you're about to hear from her. Speaking about Epstein.
All right.
Well, sometimes before the parties, he would come over, and Jeffrey Epstein and himself would kind of banter back and forth, and he was Donald Trump was very racist. He said a lot of racist things. Like there was a lot of comments towards Mr. Epstein about being Jewish, and called him a Jew, so that he was cheap. And there were some words I didn't even understand. Something about the shape of his penis. Being directly related to his mole, I'm not too familiar with the Jewish tradition, so.
Off the rip, you might dismiss this, but there's something interesting here. Is Mr. Epstein gave a deposition in 2010, and he was asked point blank about his relationship with then Donald Trump. He was asked, have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18? Now, Mr. Epstein replied, though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
What?
Yes, he claimed the 5th in this question. And this, again, this could come up in an investigation.
When did that happen?
2010. So this was after the sweetheart deal, but during a time period where Mr. Epstein was free. He was dealing wastefully with the remainder of payoff lawsuits or even attempts to unseal the 2008 plea deal.
All right, we have one more video. We got to wrap it up. We're pushing 2 hours here. What are we going to hear in this last video?
You're going to hear Ms. Johnson repeat something we've heard from a previous woman claiming allegations of basically sexual contact between President Trump and herself. I'm referring back to Stormy Daniels. And during an interview with Anderson Cooper, CNN's host there, Stormy Daniels claimed that prior to having sex with Donald Trump, again, this hasn't been confirmed, but she claimed that Donald Trump brought up Ivanka, said to Stormy Daniels after she had spanked him that she reminded him of his daughter. What you're going to hear Katie Johnson say.
I just want to. So, Stormy Daniels, the porn star,
Yes.
said that just before she had sex with Donald Trump, according to her story, and that she had spanked Donald Trump.
Yes.
Donald Trump said to her, "You remind me of my daughter,
Yes.
Ivanka.
You're beautiful. You're smart.
Yael Kushner, whom he has said in the past, he's insinuated that he wishes he could have sex with his daughter."
Yeah, if she wasn't my daughter, she's so beautiful.
Which was one of the strangest, most bizarre,
So
weird statements I've ever heard.
Not just one time either.
See, now when we start looking at all this stuff, you start putting all this stuff out here, you go, okay, this is really starting to make my stomach turn.
Yes, and you know that the famous or infamous NBC slip up he said when he was talking about grab him in the.
Yes.
It makes sense
Billy
now
Bush did,
because
yeah.
this is the mindset you need to think like that. That you have that power, that you can just go and do that. Well, this is the next level.
Yeah, okay, so this last video is Katie Johnson describing what she claims Donald Trump said to her when she was 13 years old. Watch this.
The one night that I had the blonde wig on, he mentioned that I looked like, that I reminded him of his daughter. And actually the maid fantasy, I didn't have a blonde wig on. I was trying to stay away from blonde wigs at the time. But he actually told Tiffany that that's what he wanted me to wear. Like he wanted it, and anytime I put it on, anytime I had it on and he'd see me, he would say, "Oh man, you look," and it wasn't like "Oh, you remind me of my daughter." It was this sick, evil, you remind me of my daughter. It was just this weird pleasure, sick smile,
She was 13 years old. And if she's telling the truth, he just raped her.
Yes.
And then he said, "You remind me of my daughter."
I don't even know what to say.
Hey, if this stuff is true about Donald Trump, this man needs to resign and be indicted and in prison. And I would hope that he would share a cell with Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton, we have many accusations it goes to deaf ears. Juanita Jackson, I mean,
We've wondered over the years who paid for Bill Clinton's get out of jail free card. Who has enough power to keep Clinton out of prison? How could Clinton rape women and get away with it? How could he have people killed, people that threatened his career, and they show up dead? They have committed arkancide. I'm not saying that Bill Clinton himself went out and killed, but people died. That
there's a body trail.
There's a trail of corpses behind Bill Clinton. Who has this power? So was Bill Clinton? What was Bill Clinton's weakness? Women. Did the Israeli Mossad feed Bill Clinton what he craved, what he lusted for? Does that explain Monica Lewinsky, nice Jewish girl, in the White House? mean, folks, we have a major scandal, and it's deep, it's wicked, it goes to the core of what's wrong with America.
It's almost too much.